Okay, well, I'm outside and I found a spot where there's enough Wi-Fi connection, and I'm gonna speak with my friend Viola. Viola was part of the Dolphin Ancestors group, and more than that, Viola is a transformational sound artist. And some people are saying to me, like, okay, so if the demiurge is coming down, like, what are we supposed to do now? And I'm going, oh, enjoy your life, do anything you want, go camping, take a swim, sing a song, clap your hands, like go climb a tree, like do anything you want. Like that's what we're on earth for. Like that's what we're doing here. So Viola has a beautiful chart and she also has a wonderful relationship. And there's many things that I want to talk to her about. It could be about sound and frequency and sonar and things that we learned from the dolphins, but also like what's your life like in a committed relationship? What does that look like? And does that make you happy and so forth? But also people were asking me like about diet and how do you keep your energy body going if you want to avoid like certain foods that are not so healthy. And Viola has some interesting experiences and not eating also. So I just want to hear, where do you want to start, Viola?
Yeah, great. Yeah, we could talk about all the things. So yeah, that this just lights me up right now. Like right now, where we're at, I do feel like there is an incoming like wave of fresh energy, a bifurcation, just like focusing on being human. And I have been having a blast doing that, right? And I watched a video you had just made about like the bifurcation and how we are the original humans and we're staying human and we're being here, and that is so much a part of my everyday life. I do my barefoot walking every day down by the river and just drinking in the nature and getting barefoot on the earth, and I kind of feel like even if this is a simulation and even if the earth is a simulation, nonetheless our composition is of the same that the earth is, and it serves us so well to just be connected in with the earth. And I sing my songs, I'm just walking and I'm singing and I'm sort of brewing information and understandings, and I eat a lot of fruit which just comes right out of the earth, and a lot of plants, and my partner gardens. And so just staying as human as we can by being human, being of the earth, and also being in my heart, which feels like to me the heart piece feels huge. And I'd love to talk about that today too, and bounce back and forth and ask you some questions about that as well, because to me that feels like the gem, like the diamond of being human, right? Because I think it is unique, our capacity to love and to be so caring. And as we study the dark or whatever the overlay that controls the simulation or this matrix and what those forces are, it seems to be devoid of heart. And so that is the piece that makes us human and will keep us thriving and stay on an organic timeline.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so when I'm thinking about how to be in the heart, and I think about the dolphins, when I'm with the dolphins, I just light up with absolute joy. And they're playing. What they're doing is they're playing. They're using sound and frequency, but they also physically swim around in circles and do a magical dance in the water. And I feel like being in your heart is very playful. It's very like communicative, where you speak to others and you share that, and that's the energy that feeds you. And I feel like the dolphins just live that perfect existence without worrying about taxes, without worrying about without worrying about getting the connection on their Zoom call. So for me, that's why they are our ancestors. I'm looking at them, and also the manatees, which again came up in the Gulf of Mexico right next to me. And they're so playful and they're like swimming around, curious. They're looking at me, I'm looking at them. So it's a curiosity and it's a flow that I feel like happens so naturally when you're spontaneous like that. It's a spontaneous flow of love. That's what I think a human is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love it that the dolphins and the whales, they model that for us. They show us who we were or before all the things, all the stuff that overlaid over us. And play is just so It's so human, it's so real, and it's so in the heart. Like when I'm in that space in my heart. And so, oh, I should also probably just introduce myself a little bit. So, yes, I'm a transformational sound artist. I'm a sound healer on one half of the equation. And I also facilitate Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshops, which is the current work of Drunvalo Melchizedek, who many people remember from sacred geometry and whatnot. But his work evolved over the decades to be all about the heart, getting into the heart and learning to get step out of the duality that is the mind, right, and into the heart. So this has been a huge focus of me for about 12 years now, is teaching that work. And so it's something that I live and breathe. And I know that the mind is the duality radio receiver, right, for this crazy world that we live in. And the heart is just pure. And I think lately I've just been really, really focusing in on my mind in like meditation or when I'm laying there in bed and hearing the thoughts that go through. And I know that they're not mine. Like, thoughts come and go, but I remain, like that's just so real. And the thoughts that come in really do feel like broadcasts, especially the dream state. I'm not even really paying attention to my dreams anymore. It's just like filler radio static, and since the brain is a receiver and a perfect dualistic tool for this realm, the less attention I give it and the more I go into my heart, which has none of that static, it's just pure joy and love. Like it feels like our natural state. And so when I'm playing or if I'm deep diving and play, that's really all I'm interested in. Like conversations like this, or being absolutely playful, making up silly songs, playing, dancing, being out in nature, making little things out of grass, whatever it is. But if as long as it's play, then I'm bypassing that static zone that's between the deep dive, where the mind can also go deeper, and the play, that's where I want to be. And that's why I'm loving this joyful spirit that you showed up with today. Like you're so in your joy and play. And it makes me think how in this bifurcation that's happening, there's so much more slumber happening and sleeping and people sort of going under the spell. But because it's a duality place we're in, the more sleepiness happens, the more that if we're over here on the organic timeline, the more that energy raises. And so I'm feeling myself get more blissed out. Looks like you're also experiencing that. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm absolutely experiencing that. And I wanted to speak a little bit about the bifurcation to make it a little bit more joyful for people, actually, because there is some sadness in the thought that some people are going one way and other people are going the other way. And I had a remembering recently of, and there are probably going to be little cars and beeps and things that go by because I'm in a public place, but that's part of just being spontaneous. Like, oh, I have a Wi-Fi signal here. It'll work. I'll just hold it and the bush will support the laptop and we're going to do great. So, just being spontaneous with whatever comes up. But I was thinking a lot about the bifurcation. And if you think about a duality template, in a duality template, because the whole universe is holographic, it's made of structures of geometry that have a descending side and an ascending side. So if you think about a geometry, there will always need to be like the base that is descending as others of us are elevating our consciousness and expanding. So when I think about the bifurcation, I think about the gift and the gratitude that I have for people who are holding the space of the descending timeline also, or the bifurcation. And that really opened my heart because there was a lot of sadness about that, thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to be on this organic timeline where we're playing in trees and having fun. The thing about this this system and the way it was set up is that the descending timeline is holding the base and the root for almost projecting those of us who are going more into the organic timeline. So this is hard to comprehend, but when I post this video, I'll put a little link in the description so that you can actually see the geometry. Think about like the color purple. The color purple is the ascending flame, and that one is moving so fast that it appears still, but it is a vibration that is stillness that is moving incredibly fast. Whereas the descending is moving very, very slow, and it looks more thick and dense, and you're going to be able to see a lot more of that. But those of us who are on, the transfiguration back to the divine human, we're moving so fast, and that's happening within my body too, that I'm going like, I can't even sit still. I have to stand up and do this with Viola. Like it's, so there's a balance and a grace to this whole dance of creation that's happening right now, so that I am open with huge amounts of gratitude for people who are holding also that descending timeline, the AI timeline. Do you understand that, Viola?
Oh, yes, that's so beautiful. Thanks for bringing in that piece. And, if we're in duality and now the duality is ex becoming in a bifurcation, that means the duality is going into extreme. So we're in extreme duality. And so the way down here and the way up here, and you can't have the way up here without the way down here, as long as you're in a duality timeline. And so to have absolute gratitude for everyone playing their parts is amazing. And that's the center still point right in the heart. Love
I knew
that.
you would understand. I'm so glad that I was able to speak to you because you studied geometry and you understand this whole concept, right? Even if you look at like a Sri Yantra, okay? So you know the Sri Yantra. I know
Yeah.
that you do.
If,
Um,
when we can show one right there. Yeah. There's
so
your Sri Andra.
yeah.
Okay.
So in the Sri Yantra, you're going to have some layers that are descending and holding the base or the root, and then some layers that are rising up and transfiguring back into that divine gnosis, that place that you realize that you are in fact source. You are in fact the creation, and you start creating from that place. That place does very well with joy, with love, with playfulness. So that's why it's very important for us to hold that space also. I mean, it's easy to be in that space, but
Mm-hmm.
that's why I go camping. That's why I stay in tree houses. That's why I go kayaking and play with the dolphins, because it's very important to be in that space with them.
Yeah, there's this one doesn't this Sri Yantra doesn't have it, but in a lot of Sri Yantras, you'll see that little dot right in the center, that little bindu point that's right in the middle, right? As the duality is going up and the duality is going down, and then that bindu point is the portal, right? I kind of think about the heart as also being that portal that is created in within this duality structure to go through and right through in like the ascension into the unified whatever there is that is the like I call it the source of all that is truly holy beyond all matrix constructs. Like whatever that is, it is accessible directly within through like as if if you sometimes it looks like the Sri Yantra is actually like a machine that's in motion and it's like a grid machine. And then right through the center is like I can access the void, the still point that is touching the holiness.
Yeah.
So it's through the
And I'm
duality.
and I'm so present with you that I lose my train of thought because I'm really listening to you, which is something that has changed for me recently. Okay. So I'm changing. I'm becoming very organic, and I start to be in what's called true for now. Oh my gosh, Viola's saying something. And then my whole brain gets like wiped because I don't have like what I'm holding on to as a modification of mind stuff of what I want to say to you. I'm like in the present moment, which is that bindu spot. Like, oh, so then your attention and listening to me starts to bring forth what I wanted to talk about. But I was so present with you. This is a huge change for me recently, where it almost feels like I have dementia, but it's a different thing. It's that I'm no longer holding thought forms in like a stale, like stagnant, oh, I know what I have to say. I have an agenda. I'm going to tell Viola right now. But that's happening. It's happening for some of my clients, and not to worry about that because that is that now
Yeah.
moment. That is that 0 point void stillness place where you're moving so fast that you're present with someone finally.
I've
Mm.
been experiencing this too. I've been calling it the gap, just like that there's more of a gap in between the thought and the action or the next thought, and you're just in it. Um, and like it's just this still place of slowing down and being more present. And it's changing for me too. There definitely is some energy that is coming in to funnel into, it seems like, the organic structures.
Yeah.
Have you, yeah, I'm wondering also, because that energy is coming through. I don't know if it's not in, I don't know that I believe in or out, whatever, but it's being more present in organic structures. We're responding to it. Are you noticing it as well in your like garden, like that kind of organic structure? I wonder if it's affecting everything that's organic.
Yeah, well, I like that you use the term incension, because it's not really a hierarchy.
Right.
It's an inward flow. And when I'm in the gardens, I'm more speaking to and joyful about the growth of the plants also. So we have a moringa tree, and I was a little bit worried because we did have 2 snow days in Florida this year. Like we had a blizzard in Florida of a 1/4 inch of snow. We barely survived that 1/4 inch of snow. This is totally being joking. But
Yeah.
the moringa, the moringa didn't like it so much. But when I talk to my moringa and I have moments, I sit out with the moringa when we have our circle at night, and I keep encouraging the moringa, like, you can do this. Like, it's okay to transform to a plant that can also grow in the snow. Like, you'll be okay. And I'm having that real now moment conversation with the moringa. And yesterday, the moringa got shoots. It has brand new shoots coming up from the roots. And that's how that transformational now moment of being like, moringa, you can do this. And not in like the expectation of what a moringa should do, like it should have died. My mind and all the papers about moringa say that if it gets to 26 degrees, the moringa should die. No, no, it's different now. The moringa can have life in this now moment. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, do you understand that, feel?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that I've been doing a lot of spoon bending lately and things like that that just to keep practicing breaking the constructs of the rules that we have here that tell us that yeah, a moringa tree should die at this degree, or that we need to eat food, or that we, matter is solid, like anything that we can do to sort of break that structure and encourage others to do it, even moringa trees. That's awesome.
So that's my example with the garden. But you know
Yeah.
what? You also said something about, did you say that singularity of the Bindu at the center point in the Sri Yantra? I
Yeah.
have thought about that too. So as there is an AI singularity happening right now, there is also an organic singularity happening right now. So just like the Sri Yantra, there will be a mirror. That's what's happening in a
Yeah.
bifurcation. So some people are going into a different kind of AI singularity where there will be a hive mind. What's happening with my discussion with the Moringa, or with my, discussion with Viola, is we're going into a different kind of singularity where my heart connects with the Moringa in a very real, visceral way. Like the Moringa and I are one. Do you
Yes.
understand?
Yes. Yes. I was mentioning earlier that I am a facilitator for Drunvalo, right? And so him and I actually talk regularly on the phone a lot. And he's been sharing with me his perspective, which is that a higher cosmic consciousness is coming into the planet, and the organic humans will start to become able to completely talk to plants, to trees, to levitate, to do all these things that before weren't available, and completely talking to animals and plants. And so I love that that's exactly what's happening for you as you're talking to your moringa. It just
It's,
reminded me of that.
it's the singularity with the Moringa is an
Yes, yes.
organic.
It's the singularity of all that is organic, as if there is a well, he'll call it a consciousness grid, like there's a consciousness grid around the planet for all the different living beings, but then there's also a unity consciousness grid, right? There's a Christ consciousness grid, and having nothing to do with Jesus, but just a Christ, that Christed light energy consciousness grid. And what you're saying about like this bifurcation and this unity bindu point kind of coming in for both the organic and the AI timeline, that is if we're all kind of coming into a consciousness grid together where we are one organic thing. And so we are the same as the moringa plant, and so we can access and communicate.
I
Yeah.
love I mean, right now I'm trying moving my thing ar the light has changed, the sky has changed, Viola. I
Yep.
noticed that the bluer blues of the sky are coming through. There's not a cloud in the sky right now, and when we were in Cedar Keys, we were saying goodbye to the ocean and speaking to the pelicans and just our gratitude to the land, the sea, the wind in the trees, the beauty of the cedar trees and the Cedar Keys. And a rainbow popped up out of the earth. And there's pictures of it that I've shared. This rainbow literally came up out of the ground and reached up to the sky and like bridged what you would call the sky and the earth and over the sea, and the pelicans were underneath it, and I stood and like the rainbow was coming through me, and Ezzy, my little dog, was at my heart, and we literally felt like a transformation happening. There is something going on. So whatever it is that Drunvalo has said to you, like, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it too in a way of like the synchronicities have just like jacked up like 200% or something crazy. Where like I just see something and then it manifests. I say like, "Oh, there's never any kayaks in this river. We haven't seen one in 6 months since we moved to this neighborhood." Boom, 2 minutes later, there comes a couple in a kayak. Like that level of the simulation just it's been constant. Like the instant manifestation of how like this organic sort of simulation responding to the organic imprint, just as I imagine the AI one will do as well for the people in that construct, where they can think something in their AI metaverse or whatever, and they'll probably instantly manifest it because it's just a computer program. So is this in a different way. And so that's coming online where we really can just manifest or create whatever it is and bend the spoons and do all the things. And so it is really an exciting time to be alive, and that I think is much needed after drudging through the years of looking at this all. And I know you have done it to an incredible degree as well, and just you know assimilating what is actually going on here, and then having to be with that. And in order to become like a true warrior, you have to look frankly at all of it directly, right? And then assimilate it and then choose to be in joy anyway. It's like, okay, I see that and I'm going to be in joy. And so those of us who've been are like inching our way there to be in this place now where there's just like all this joy coming in, like what a treat. Like it's like we worked hard for this.
Yeah, yeah. And I would love to speak to you also a little bit about our eating and how things have just changed for me. There was also a massive shift, probably around March 13th, where I suddenly was like, you know what? I don't think I want a beer. Like, I don't think I'm going to have a beer. You know what, Claudia? I don't think I'm going to buy any more beer. And something really happened where my body no longer desired certain things. And I said in one of my videos that, you know what? I'm not going to eat chickens anymore. I just don't feel it anymore. And something about just the nature of my heart went, oh my gosh, look at their lives. And they're all being sent in this truck to a slaughterhouse. And I was like, remembering when I did used to just walk around and sing little ditties with my girls. Like one of my favorite ditties was, chicken are my people, chickens are my people, chickens are my people, back, 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 back. And I was like, chickens are my people. And so and just like, wow, it really landed in my heart.
Oh, that's beautiful. That makes me so happy to hear that. Yeah, I have had the experience of giving up eating animals twice in my life. Once when I was 18, and then there was just a brief point in my mid 30s where I don't know, some naturopath scared me by looking at my blood work that I needed to eat meat or I was going to die or something, right? And I caved in and ate it for a little bit. So I've had the experience of twice letting it go when the template was in me. And what I have found is that there's so much pain and suffering in those animals, right? That they go through in their life. That in order to eat that pain and suffering, that adrenochrome, really, on some level, then that makes people feel really good and really high. That in order to do that and not feel the suffering, we create a sheath around the heart. This is my personal take on it, right? So we create this sheath to not be able to feel that suffering, but it also keeps us from feeling our love and our compassion and our humanity and actually getting into that space of the heart. And when you let that go, the sheath melts away. My husband has also experienced that when he's let it go. And so, because I work with the heart with people, I and people will sometimes ask me about this. It's a touchy subject, one that people often don't want to hear about, and they just want to go into dissonance and not, face it. But when people are open, I will share that experience and that there's a softening around the heart that will help us be more organic and more human. And it's also, to me, sounds like we're eating the choir, like Mother Earth's choir. And this can actually bridge into a conversation about sound and how the animals are the choir of the body of Mother Earth, and to to eat the choir seems like the most ridiculous thing ever.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that fire. Let's talk about sound. When you're in your yard and you hear the birds singing, or even a donkey braying in the distance, there's something that sound makes me remember the quality of of purity and beauty about being a human. Like, the whole universe is holographic. This is a particular experience where you are physical and you can interact with a lot of other beings that are also physical. So the choir, for me, um, is all about that nature experience. So, I mean, that's why I have to live like I live. Like, I don't want to hear too many machines and technology. So talk to me about, like, what does sound do for us, Viola? What
You
is
know,
that?
Interestingly enough, we just went away for the weekend to a hot springs and just got back last night. And the whole time we were gone, we were running a mold frequency because we had found some mold exposure in our new house, right? And so we were running a program. There's this program called Mold Wizard, and like you can just run these frequencies off of your cell phone on speakers, and it will kill the mold because everything is frequency here. And so, this is just like frequency and vibration slow down to a certain degree that it appears as solid. But of course, nothing, as we know, is nothing is actually solid at all. It's all just frequency at different vibrations, and the lower vibration we're at now makes it appear solid. But because everything's frequency, then everything is affected by frequencies, either positive or negative. And I'm a sound healer. I'm a singer. I'm working with healing sounds all the time. I'm singing. I got my tuning forks and my gongs and all the different instruments. I have so many because I love all the different unique frequencies and feeling what they do. So it was so interesting to play this mold wizard frequency right before we left on Friday morning. We're like, okay, we're getting out of the house now. You're not supposed to play those frequencies while you're there because they're death frequencies. Like, if there can be frequencies that can heal, there can also be ones that are harmful. And so these frequencies are like really unpleasant sounds, like wah, wah, coming out of the cell phone. And then I had to come back in and out of the house a couple times before we left. And then I was trying to get the speaker louder. And I probably overheard that frequency tone for about 5 minutes. And I got in the car and I was so cranky. I was so like, I had to sing into the car and sing from my heart for a while just to kind of get back and try to clear that. And then it was such a lesson for me as a sound person of how powerful sounds can be. And so I don't like to listen to uh, hardly any new music because it's all got weird distorted frequencies in it, and the vocals have been gone through the vocoders or the effects, and they feel anti-human, they feel anti-life. And I'm in a store and I hear music, it hurts me, right? It's like those frequencies that are coming off of the Hollywood stuff, it hurts. And so I still have records and tapes from, I like to listen to those, and I don't listen to music off of my computer. I have it all analog and old school. And I love just making music. And so listening to the birds, but also just singing, it's so healing. It's so healing. So as a sound healer, I play, like I said, a gazillion instruments, and yet I sing. I always sing at least like 2 or 3 times during a session or a sound bath. And inevitably, people will always tell me that that's their favorite part. That's the part that moved them the most because I think whatever I'm wanting to bring through, it has to translate through an instrument if I'm trying to bring something through in the sound current. But if I'm just singing, it's direct. It's coming direct from my heart and coming through me. And it's human. And those frequencies are so human that they heal people and help people in ways that move them to tears where other instruments don't. And so I think that there's just so something about that. And all the animals and all the dolphin frequencies and the whale frequencies, I think they can be just so healing because we are nature. You got muted, Leilita.
I muted myself because the wind was doing its frequencies. So um, when I'm thinking about my dog's vocal range and what she is able to tap into, and she was able to hear the dolphins and the manatees before I was. And she started chattering with excitement. She was like, and then she's like getting up on the edge of the boat because she can hear like some kind of welcoming playfulness from the animals that I cannot hear. So I feel like the other thing that I want to also respect in this whole natural world is like we are part of it. And I think about like, am I harming the dolphins or my dog with like the vacuum cleaner? Like what you were just saying about like the mold frequencies and the Hollywood frequencies and the infrasound that they put digitally under like sub audio tracks that people can hear. I am becoming also more aware of like Ezzy's very sensitive to that vacuum cleaner. Like I gotta vacuum and like let her outside and be careful. So I've become careful like that too. Like we as humans have responsibilities here to nature also that I would just encourage people to think about like when you're doing your leaf blower, that's hurting the birds.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
So maybe get a rake.
Nice. Yes. Beautiful.
Tell us a little bit what a session is like with you, Viola.
Um, well, I will just kind of create, if I'm doing an individual session with someone, I'll just ask if they have an intention that they want to clear or bring in because sound frequencies, I mean, we're 70% water. And so, as the sound frequencies are moving through the room, those vibrations are moving through the water. Just like if a bowl of water is on top of a loudspeaker, in booming, you would see that water rippling in the bowl of water. So that's what's happening in our bodies when we're in the room with instruments. The sound waves are moving through the rooms. And so in that, they will set intentions because so much is intent here, right? If we're living in a simulation, intent is kind of everything. So um, you can set an intention of what you want the sound frequencies to move through. And if there's blockages there that are emotional blockages or even physical blockages, those sound waves will move through and bump up against those. And so sometimes people have like a resistance or pain or something that comes up because it's the sound waves bumping into that. And so then they can coach them to just either, clench and hold the tension and then exhale it out as a way to let the sounds clear. But you can also use the sound with your intent to imprint. So holding an intention of the next highest level of being yourself, which is maybe free of some pattern or addiction or some limiting thing or self-doubt or whatever it is, a depression. If you're just having the intention that I am free, I am light, then the sound waves as they move through imprint on the water, just like Masaru Emoto showed so long ago that with your words and with your intent, a thought form on water, it can change the frequency. So we can do that in our own bodies, maximizing like a strong dose of frequency coming in through the sound. So I kind of just work with that with people so they can just clear and also use the sounds to imprint. And anyone can do this. Like I kind of an advocate for a gong in every home, or at least a tuning fork or a singing bowl or something. So that way you can go over to that thing anytime you want and just use those sounds to imprint whatever you want to clear or call in. So I'll do that. I'll intuitively just move through whatever instruments want to come up to clear, and I'll use my voice a lot to help sometimes go in to people and bring out whatever the sound is that wants to move out whether that's a song or whether that's some tension and suffering, like kind of let that move through. And then once the space is clear of all the tension, the static, the blockages by using the gongs and the didgeridoos and the drums and some stronger vocals, then you've got a void. So now you've got to fill that space. Otherwise, you're just like this open vessel. And if you don't have good protection, any weird energy can get in. So, or old ones can just resurface. And so then filling that space with light and higher frequency sounds and beautiful songs and um, crystals and crystal tones and chimes and things like that that bring in like higher frequencies so that it's kind of just like an oil change or like a water change of the body. Get out all the old programming of the water and then programming it with new high frequencies.
Yeah.
Remi- Reminds me of once I did do a couple breatharian retreats. We touched on that briefly before. And during the breatharian retreats is usually a 3 or 4 day dry fast. And that's profound to just take no food or water for 4 days. And I know that what that will natives will do that in a vision quest too, right? But in what it always feels like is squeezing a sponge. Like you get all the water out of the body, all the old programmed water, and squeeze it so there's nothing left. And then you're just empty. And then you really set your intention with the new water after 4 days that you're going to drink in, and then put that into your body. It's a whole frequency shift.
So much is coming up for me. I have a couple of different things that I want to speak to you about that empty space that is created after you use sound frequency. So when I would, and I then I want to come back to water also, but
Okay.
when I was practicing as a shaman, we spent a couple of years learning our own personal song. And you would journey for your song and you would let a lot of different sounds and melodies come through and like sounds that were not English. Okay. Like they were a lot of sounds. And sometimes you imitated like an eagle or a horse. Like part of my personal song would incorporate spirits, like spirits of animals. So I would bring in like a horse and I'd be whinnying and singing and dancing and shaking my rattle. And what happened after you get your personal song with some of the language that comes with that personal song is to do a shamanic session. I would then lay down on the ground, and the person had been laying on the ground during my whole song. And then I would start to tune into their song. I would start to tune into like sounds and things that I was hearing from their body. Like the rattle was quiet, everything was quiet. My body was vibrating very, very fast, and I sometimes would levitate. So my whole body would turn like almost luminescent, like light would come off of my body. And sometimes they'd be like looking at me going, oh my gosh, what is she doing? Like she's like, her whole body is like shaking with Kundalini and stuff. But I found through sound, you can time travel. And I started to understand shamanism and sound as time travel, where you open a different space and you pull layers of space and time that are no longer helpful. And you can pull those right out of the energy field. But also, if you have fractured part of yourself, you can find that almost like following the sound back, and you will hear like the 13-year-old self, and you will hear like a distortion in the sound of the 13-year-old self. And then I would travel that line to that 13-year-old self. And then I would be able to pull like a fractured piece of the soul, and that's called soul retrieval, back to the person. And then I would be able to blow it literally like back into their heart. And you always blow it directly back into their heart. So I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that, Viola.
That is beautiful. I love that you shared that. And it reminds me a little bit that like we are the tuning fork. Like we can use our own body and our own voice to find the places in the field where, there's distortions and call it in. I did have one experience that was very, very special. And I was called on to sing for a dying woman, and she was in her last hours of life, and she was breathing very labored and couldn't really open her eyes, and they called me in to sing music for her. And I just more than just sing with an instrument or something like that, I felt called to hold her hand And I went inside and I sang her last song for her. I found her song that she couldn't bring out, that, you know, it was, she, whatever, she still had a song left before she completed her life organically. And I was able to go in and find that song and sing it out for her. And she passed a few hours later after that. And that was super, super special and a big honor to be able to do that.
That is making me remember many things of how we used to bring people in and how we used to also allow people to leave at will. When my child was born at home, I asked everyone, because I had two midwives assisting me, and I said, when she's actually coming through the canal, I want everyone to be very quiet, because the first thing that I want her to hear is tat vam asi, tat vam asi, tat vam asi. And then we sang to her.
Oh,
And I think that's what the dolphins do.
yeah.
In a dolphin birth, you know, they're very attentive, they're moving around, they're touching the mother, they're protecting, they're emitting certain sounds, but it's very quiet. And then I haven't seen or experienced a dolphin assisted birth, but then apparently there's all kinds of clicks and squeaks and joy and what's here? These are the first sounds you'll hear. Thou art that. Thou art that. Thou.
And so amazing in the Dolphin Ancestors book that we were reading about all those stories of how the children who did have dolphin assisted birth and how much more advanced they become in their IQs and everything, because it's like all the sounds turn on the remembering, they turn on the higher centers. And so that's really lovely.
Viola, would you feel comfortable to tell us a little about your relationship?
Oh, yeah, sure. I have a lovely partner who is now a husband, um and and we're very similar and very different in some ways. And it was really interesting just watching your recent videos about the matriarchy and how, you know, you are on some level weaving the life and the man is supporting, you know, the life. And I could relate to that as well. And it is really lovely to have a human companion in this in this life and doing the dance of the masculine and the feminine and healing uh, all the deeper stuff that is part of our upbringing and the cultural conditioning and just finding your way with that. I do love having a partner and just accepting him for who he is. And I chose him as a partner because he brings me joy and laughter. And that is priceless in this realm. That is sort of above and beyond anything to find someone who brings levity and joy. So I, yeah, anything you want to ask me, go ahead.
Well, so the interesting thing about your family is that I did a chart for both of you. And what I understood from your chart was a certain set of um, experiences that make you happy, that really sing your song, that bring you vitality. And when I did, and I won't say his name unless you want
Oh,
his name.
it's Dan. It's Dan. His name's Daniel. That's fine. Yeah.
So then when I did Daniel's chart, Daniel's a different experience. Daniel has a different ascendant, sun, moon, location of his planets. His experience in the world is going to be a different experience. And one of the things that I found as an astrologer was that like the openness to have like your partner hear your session and be okay with the fact that you're having a session was really nice in your household. Like he's a different human, as you said, like he's having his own experience and it's diversified experience from yours. He doesn't need to be the same as you. He's a different person. And then you were able to share without like hiding your session that Lolita did for me. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's amazing that you had shared that recently in a video that people have that experience where they are so they have to hide and they're so separate. Like I think one of the foundations of our relationship that makes it, I think, so beautiful to me is the absolute transparency, the absolute sovereignty, and respect. And that right there, just like no, neither one of us is responsible to make the other person happy or to do anything in particular. It's all a gift. It's all a blessing, and just the sovereignty piece. That is so we are, a couple of Sagittariuses and just so independent and love that and give each other the room to be independent, but also completely loving and supportive and transparent. And that's the work, that's the goal, that's the ideal, and we do pretty well with it. And to have a partner who feels, even if he doesn't always get all of the things that I get into, all my weird rabbit holes and all the stuff, right? He is completely supportive and accepting and game to hear about any of it and game to sort of try things on and go on a ride. And he's like, I'm not into that or whatever. Then it's just let him be him. And and he'll go outside and watch the garden and go play tennis, whatever he's gonna do.
Yeah. That is one thing that I don't know how to share with people other than having people like live in my household or live in your household. But what I notice about you, and I had said this in the Dolphin Ancestors, is like there's a certain reverence that Daniel has for you as the feminine. He really does. And that was the teaching that I learned from Barry Long, was like the feminine is this beautiful, sweet, natural thing of pure love. And what I liked about Daniel is that he knows that's what you are.
Mm,
Tell
yeah,
us, tell us a
I
little
think
bit about that.
that's the key. And I think that I have been in many relationships in my life where they didn't get that piece. They didn't know it. They did never saw me. They never saw the preciousness of the feminine really, right? And really honored it. And inevitably those became toxic. And so like you share, like the masculine can have a tendency to just be toxic just by the way it was actually stirred up in this simulation by its nature. And so in order to not be, you have to have some grace and boon and grow beyond that. And it's rarer, it's true. Um, but I love how you were sharing that you can encourage that as well, and that it is possible. And so I'm just, I guess, another person here to support that. Yes, it is possible to live in that healthy way.
Yeah. So Viola's the living proof. People don't realize that we had booked this conversation quite some time ago, you
Yeah.
know, um, and some of these videos have been directed to the fact that I was going to speak to Viola today.
Ah, okay.
So, and you may not have even known that. Like, it was the discussion of geometry and how can we hold geometry, but also the, transfiguration of the human, that anything is possible, that we could live in the trees, we could live in the sea, we can live on the land, we can live in a cave, we can live in an upper atmosphere. Like, a human is really unlimited potential. And then I also was going, okay, and Viola has a partner who allows her to be completely who she is. She's absolutely excited to be who she is, and he's not going to stop it. Daniel, are you
It's
there? Hey,
Power to the peaceful. Are you still recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Yeah, and we're just talking about how the way to have a healthy relationship is that there is programming built into the DNA almost of the masculine that is toxic. And in order to actually really have a healthy relationship, the masculine actually has to grow up, first of all, and then also be able to see the feminine as the true gift that the feminine and the pure heart and the pure spirit that the feminine is. And Lavina says that she sees that you do that.
Yeah, and I think what helps with that is metabolizing the masculine energy. For me, that can metabolize by going solo backpacking is probably my one thing. Using that energy, going out in the wild, embracing that, taming that inner wild man, so he can come back from that mountain adventure with love and service, whatever that looks like. But to metabolize the energy, I was just telling Viola today, like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna go play tennis because it's a little bit competitive. And if I can burn up that energy in healthy ways, and I'm playing tennis and I'm laughing and I'm joking, but I'm still being competitive and I still want to win, you know." So there's that show up and not be competitive with her, you know.
Right. Like we see videos all the time of Claude in the background, just gardening and gardening, and he's just getting all that masculine energy like into the
Yeah, right.
gardening.
Yeah, you got to use it. You got to burn it up
Yeah.
in healthy ways.
I
Yeah.
love that, Daniel. I remember that in our session when you were talking about like how to fully express yourself, and
Mm,
that kind of alone time in wilderness was very important to you. And I
yeah.
love that word. Like I've never heard the phrase metabolizing the masculine. That's exactly it. There
Mm.
is an energy in you that needs to do stuff, right? You need to do stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Or else we just lecture. It'll come out sideways and like lecturing and Viola's always talking about, oh, facts and figures. We're talking about facts and figures. Oh, look at that building over there. It's probably built in the 18th century. And I'm guessing the framework. And she's like, blah, blah, blah. Go, go build it. Go make it or whatever. Go chop a plank of wood in half in the garage and then come back and then we can talk or whatever.
Yes. So metabolizing the masculine. There
Yeah.
is some language around that from the testosterone perspective and also Mars. Like if your Mars is very powerful in good condition, the man needs to exercise a little bit more and get that masculine testosterone going. So what Claude will do is chop wood. And I've made videos of him in the elegance of how he chops the wood is an art form. I
Hmm.
mean, but it's like the way he's metabolizing his Mars because he has 5 planets in Aries and his Mars is in Sagittarius.
Uh-huh.
He's got fire to burn.
Fire, fire.
And if he doesn't burn it, he'll sneak around, he might do something kind of, get himself into trouble. And so
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you have a maturity about that.
Yeah, there's these little moments where I'll come up behind Viola and she's in the kitchen. I'll sometimes kiss her softly, but sometimes I'm kind of grabbing her a little passionately, which is good. And then sometimes it'll be a little bit extra aggressive that it's like, oh, I need to go outside and chop firewood. This is starting to it can come out sideways in these little microwaves. And she's like, yeah, why don't you it's time for you to get together with the bros and throw a frisbee around or whatever, you know? Not it's not rocket science, but it's using up that energy in healthy ways.
Oh my gosh, Daniel, I so needed you in this conversation too. Thank you very much for that. Because Viola and I were like, yeah, he loves me. Yeah, he loves me. And I mean, Claude always says, I exist because I love you. I love you. I love you. And he has to also be responsible for that masculine energy where he loves me a little bit too much. And I'm like,
Mm.
mm, mm.
Yeah, then the man's got to remember to drop down that mirror and look at himself at the men's work I've done and men's groups we've been in when we're getting maybe a nugget of wisdom that maybe we're projecting into somebody else. It's like we actually have a physical mirror and we'll put that on and be like, tell this man, like, oh, I gotta tell this man that I love him, And I noticed that recently, even this morning, I was like, I love you, babe. There's a direct relationship to how much I'm loving myself to how much I'm loving her. So, so within, so without. If I'm not feeling it for myself, it's hard to feel it for my lady. So gotta keep doing my work.
Yes, yes. And someone did comment, it was a comment on the post that I made with some pictures of like a day in the life with Claude and I, like what does it look like? I put in the laundry and it finishes, he puts it in the dryer. Like there's no like hierarchy to who's responsible for what. It's okay for me to carry stuff. It's okay for him to carry stuff. Like it's a very natural situation, like the birds, like the eagle nest, which I was speaking about, where the mom is there and she can go hunt and dad can go hunt and they both watch the nest and they take care of the babies. And it's not like there's Viola's only allowed to do this part. She washes the dishes and she only washes the dishes. Like there's okay to cross over what we have had as like those gender definitions. To me, I think that's part of the demiurge structure, the overlay to
Mm,
organic earth is the man also suffers from that because then he's like, I am the paycheck, I am the provider, I will open the door for you, you know? And I'm like, no, I'm going to open the door for you and I'm going to pay the bills. Like, it's just
Mhm.
okay, isn't it?
And if the man is not okay with it, wow, that's his work to do. You know, I think of the man who's the CEO his whole life and he's had purpose and meaning, and then he retires and then he dies within 6 months, you know, because he's
Yes.
defined himself by the specific role of what he was.
And that for me is a loss. Like, why do we want to be in that kind of system where he's achieved that status and then retirement comes and the like falling apart of his purpose because it was all about the paycheck?
Mhm.
You know, you're adding a lot to this conversation because I never even think about that. Did you, like, I don't think about, but my father died very young, and every one of the men in my family hasn't even made it to retirement, Daniel.
Mhm.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing how much in this simulation is all about the mating program. All of it. Like,
Mhm.
we were just listening to the radio the other day on our drive, and like just like every song, it's about it's the and then even what you're just talking about, the man roles, the female roles, it all is just part of this such a negative, destructive, all-consuming mating program life that just keeps us so distracted and so focused on the dramas and the heartbreaks and the abuse and the making all the things that keep us right from the Bindu point. It's
Mhm.
like all by design, right?
Wow, the music and the breeding program, that is a good reason to start singing yourself. Start,
Yeah.
making your own music,
Oh
creating your
yeah.
own art, like just realize that there is that subacoustic manipulation. Even like when I was at my mom's house, you'll hear an ad on her TV that says, ask your doctor. Like every single ad, ask your doctor. To me, it's very important to turn all of that stuff off to get to that place of the heart where you are your own metaphysician, where you know how to heal yourself, where you can really listen to your body rather than asking your doctor for every bit of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't say ask yourself what's right for you.
Yeah. Ask your pendulum.
Ask your heart if this medicine's for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ask your pendulum. Like, and I did that I just went and got medical marijuana and I wasn't sure it was completely safe. So I was holding it and I was like, okay, pendulum, show me a yes. Okay. Swinging clockwise, really strong. Show me a yes. Okay, pendulum, is this medicine beneficial for me? Strong yes. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to ask my doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love the pendulum as our own internal doctor. I mean,
Mhm.
if this is a simulation and it's holographic, then the information of everything is contained in every part because that's a hologram. And so we have access to all the information, everything about ourselves, but also about everything. And the pendulum, it's just a focal point to be able to get that knowledge if, and bypassing the filter and the distortion and the noise of the mind. And so it's our own doctor. It's right there. And it is really interesting to just be able to, and actually, I feel like a little bit given the keys to the kingdom a little bit when you can work with the pendulum really well because you can get the answers to everything, whatever is good for you, whatever's not, whatever's harmonious. Yeah, I spent a little too much time just
No, you just said that the other day.
yeah.
You're like, I kind of feel like we have the keys to the kingdom. She kind of whispered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like dowsing our way through life, right? It's okay. It's fun. And you also don't need that. You can see what happens like, if you
Yeah.
don't ask the pendulum.
Right.
But
Right.
but I want to know, Viola, like when I sang my chicken song quite spontaneous, I was at an octave much higher because I think I'm tuning into the frequency of this conversation. Can you sound the frequency of this conversation with us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do is to
Can I get out of
sing.
here?
Yeah, you can go now if you want
Okay.
to.
Okay.
He's got to go back to work anyway. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you
Thanks
so
for coming. Good to see you. I'm gonna
much.
vibe the energy as she's singing the conversation.
Like one of my favorite things to do is to sing people's essence and to sing the sunset and to sing the forest. And so, like, let's see what sounds come out for this conversation that we're having right now. And I don't know how well Zoom does with audio in that way. So it may or may not come out in the recording or whatever.
I hope everyone received that. My whole body is vibrating. It restructured me right to my bones.
Mm. Yeah, it's just all the things we just shared, but in pure sound, you know? I love it.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Tell people how to find you.
Okay, well,
How
you
do
can see on the Zoom here, it says Viola Rose, that's my name, and violarose.com is my website. And so on there, I've got information for vocal coaching, hand pan lessons, sound healing coaching, also in-person sound healing sessions and group sound baths, and also my work that I do with Drumbolo, the heart opening work of learning to get out of the mind and into the heart, awakening the illuminated heart workshops, all that is on my website.
and you have CDs, and one of them we shared in the dolphin ancestry about our connection to water. So I'm hoping to put a link of that song, but also you have a CD that's called something like Millions of Suns. And I thought a lot about that CD and that music, and that where is the sun? Where is the sun? If this is a hologram, it's inside of you. Those millions of suns, that stellar network, that pure light is inside of you. So if we want this sun to be more organic and to change this sun, shall we connect with our heart and sing it through? Is that what
Beautiful.
is that what we
Yeah,
do?
that's what I do. Yeah. I feel like there is a sun, like the inner sun, right through the portal in the center of the heart that goes through this simulation, this matrix construct, whatever, into the real sun, into the light. And we can pull it right through. We can pull it through with our song. We can pull it through with the heartfelt energy. And we can be that. Like, I think to be a sun, you know, we are, as we radiate, and the more we radiate the love, we radiate the light, we radiate the song and our own creation energy, then we are being the suns.
Thank you, Viola. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this conversation. Is there anything else you want to add before we end today?
No, I think that's a perfect place to complete the conversation for now.
Such a joy to be with you.
You too. I feel like we could probably talk for hours and hours and keep bouncing really fun things off each other and keep evolving it because this is how we do it, right? We keep, and so let's do it again.
I'm going to go dance my heart out now. Yay!
All right, I'm gonna get barefoot and go frolic down by the river and dance
All
and
right.
sing in the morning sun. All
Beautiful. Thank you, Viola.
right, have a beautiful day.
Bye bye for now.